Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit shorter and I have asked Spirit and your person's higher self why they ghosted you. So whoever ghosted you, we're just going to get some information and some insight into why they made that decision. I will say this video is going to be much shorter maybe than some of the other videos on my channel. I just wanted to put out one more video before the end of the year. I am going to do a 2022 predictions video that's going to be very long. It is the most ambitious video I have ever made. And I just want to give myself the time and energy to put as much love and effort into it as I can so that I can give you guys the best version of that video that I can, which may mean that it might come out maybe in the first week of January instead of in 2021, and that's just, how it might have to be. So with that said, feel free to pause the video and pick whichever pile is speaking the most to you, and let's get into today's reading. Hello Pile 1 and welcome to your reading. So today I have asked Spirit why your person ghosted you, and I want to say that the main reason that I'm getting from this person is that they were scared. I think that they had a lot of unresolved fears, potentially due to past relationships. I think that they had somebody in their past who was very cruel to them and really mistreated them, and I think that they had not worked through any of that. And I'm also getting an additional message. This person might have portrayed themselves as somebody who was very emotionally mature and stable, and I don't think that's who they really were. I think that was a facade, like a mask that they were wearing, because that might have been what they thought you wanted. And then if the connection or situation or relationship started to become more real, I think that the unresolved fears that they hadn't dealt with yet caused them to panic. And I think that they might have tried to kind of weigh the pros and cons of pursuing this connection with you, and I think they used bad judgment. I think that their judgment was being clouded by their fear and by their past experiences and stuff that they hadn't dealt with. I think this was an opportunity for them to work through their fears that they didn't take. So that's kind of the short answer at the top of the reading for you. And now I'm going to get into what I'm seeing in the cards, why I'm saying that. So I also want to say, just before I forget at the top of the reading, I'm getting a very stubborn energy here. Like I'm hearing like capital S, stubborn. I think that once this person decided that they were going to walk away from you, they were like dead set on that. And I think that one of the reasons why they haven't worked on their fears or worked through their fear is related to relationships and fear of intimacy that I think that they have, I think because they're stubborn. I think that they're much more comfortable pretending that everything is okay and that they're okay, rather than having to face their fears and make themselves vulnerable. I think that is very scary for them, and I don't think they were ready at the time when they were with you to face any of that. So I will say I'm getting the sense this is not, a bad person who had bad intentions. I really think that they just let their fear get the best of them, and it might have been because they were developing feelings, or their feelings were getting too deep. It was becoming too real. And I think that they realized if they wanted to actually pursue something with you, they were going to have to do a lot of the emotional work that they had been avoiding. Or at least maybe part of them realized it. Maybe their subconscious self had realized that. They were going to have to confront their fear. And that was something that they were not willing to do at that time. So I'm going to say I don't think it had anything to do with who you are, or anything that you necessarily did to trigger that in this person, because as I said, it seems to me like they might have been wearing a mask, and not really even showing you their true self. And so I think that they were hiding themselves, like their true selves from you, or they felt like that was what they were doing. They might have been doing that intentionally because they were, afraid of vulnerability. And then I think if it was a situation where you started to see through that mask, or you started to kind of develop feelings for this false persona that they were putting on, then they might have realized, oh no, I'm screwing up here. And when this person discovers when this person being you, pile one, when pile one discovers who I really am, they're going to treat me badly. They're going to break my heart and hurt me. And so I think this person just kind of preemptively shut down the connection, again, because of their fear. That's a message coming through very strongly. They were afraid. And so I'm going to get into the cards. I know I said I was going to do it and then I didn't do it. So I am going to get into the cards here. So the reason why I'm saying that, I think that this person might have been portraying themselves as somebody who was maybe more emotionally mature than they actually were at that time, is because the first card we have here is the King of Cups. And the King of Cups, this card came out upright. The King of Cups is somebody who is very emotionally mature. Is somebody who knows exactly what they want out of a relationship, is not afraid to communicate their wants and needs, is very compassionate and caring, very reliable, is always there for a friend. You can count on this person to make sure that they're going to do the right thing in order to ensure that nobody gets hurt. And the reason why I'm saying this might be a facade is because the King of Cups is not somebody who would ghost you. Like a real King of Cups is somebody who would send you a text at least, or they would probably do it either over the phone or in person, to be honest, but they'd at least send you a text saying, hey, I'm really sorry, it's just not working out, but I think you're a great person and I wish you all the best. Like, they're that kind of person. They wouldn't just leave you hanging. They wouldn't just disappear on you. They're reliable and dependable, and they just would not hurt you like that. That's like a true King of Cups just wouldn't ghost you. That's why I'm saying this might have been a false persona that this person was trying to portray, perhaps because they really liked you and they really wanted you to like them too, and they might have thought that you wouldn't like their real self. There might have been real insecurity here. And I'm also saying that because the King of Cups is being clarified by the Four of Pentacles, which carries it can carry a message about walking the line between security and insecurity. Because, it is a Pentacles card, does talk about financial security. So there is a chance that this person might have portrayed themselves as somebody who was emotionally mature and financially secure, when they might not have been either of those things. Or this card, could just be kind of a spirit's way of using shorthand to say this person was portraying themselves as somebody who was emotionally secure when that is not the truth. And I think that the Four of Pentacles also carries a message about, it's usually carrying a message about, I've worked really hard for these Four Pentacles and I'm not willing to let go of them. They're mine and I earned them and I don't want to let them go. It's like working really hard on a project or working really hard on like a piece of artwork. And it's like that bittersweet moment when somebody wants to buy it from you or you gotta kind of stop the project because it's over and you're like, but I worked so hard on it and I'm not ready to let go of it. It's that kind of feeling. So the reason that I'm bringing that up is that it connects to that feeling I was getting of this being like a very stubborn person. It's like that kind of like stubborn, kind of unmoving, like I earned these pentacles, I'm not letting go. It's that kind of energy of maybe this person really believes or believed at the time that they needed to portray themselves as a King of Cups in order to get people to like them or in order to attract a relationship. And maybe they were not willing to let go of that idea. Even when maybe the cracks started to show or their facade started to slip a little bit, I think they were kind of stubbornly holding on to the idea that you or anybody else, anybody that they wanted to be in a relationship with, only wants a King of Cups. They wouldn't have been attracted to this person. And what I'm getting is the next two cards we have are the Page of Wands, clarified by the Eight of Swords. And when I saw the King of Cups and then the Page of Wands, what came into my mind is this person might have been portraying themselves as a King of Cups. I think that their energy is much closer to a Page of Wands. And I'm also getting, as I was shuffling, I was getting kind of bursts of anxiety. And as I was, looking at the cards coming out, I kept getting very distracted. And so there's a possibility here that, again, this is kind of a non sequitur, so that kind of illustrates my point. This person might have ADD or ADHD, and that's something that they might struggle with. They might struggle on focusing, or they might just have a lot of anxiety about like executive function, and also about, that might have been something that they are insecure about, is their symptoms of ADHD or ADD, if that's something that they struggle with. Again, only take what resonates, but that might be a little bit closer to this person's authentic self, and that might be something that they're insecure about. And regardless, the Page of Wands, this Page of Wands is somebody who is very energetic, outgoing, adventurous, bold, courageous. And what's interesting is that this is being clarified by a card whose shorthand, for me anyway, is all about fear. The Eight of Swords is a card that's about being like paralyzed with fear, being so afraid of something that we don't know how to move forward, like feeling trapped and stagnant because of our fear and anxieties. And so for somebody who is like just naturally brave and courageous, like they felt paralyzed by fear. And I think that they might like genuinely really crave real genuine connections with people, and really want to be themselves and kind of show the world their true self. And they might really be held back by fear. And I think it's a legitimate fear based on their life experiences. And I'll get into why I think that in the next couple of cards. But before I do that, I also wanted to say, looking at this Page of Wands in this deck, like they're kind of wearing a top hat, sitting on a swing, and I'm getting the vibe of somebody who's like in a circus, like the ringleader, I think they're called, where they're the one who's kind of like announcing the next act, and kind of I'm seeing the Britney Spears song, where she's the ringleader. I don't know what that song is called, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. And it could be like this person might be like a natural showman or showwoman or ringleader, but I think they're hiding that part of themselves. Like I think they're using their performative talents in order to portray themselves, or they were at the time, using their performative talents to portray themselves as a King of Cups, as somebody who was more emotionally mature than they really were, who was more reliable than they really were, because I think that they thought that was the only way that they were worthy of being loved, which is honestly, that makes me sad, because I think the Page of Wands is somebody who is really genuinely lovable. And I just think that they were just being driven by fear. They were hiding their authentic self. And I honestly, with the next two cards, I'm getting the impression this had nothing to do with you or the way that you were making them feel. Like, I really don't think their fear was coming from anything that you did. I think that this was deeply ingrained, and something that they, at that point in time when they ghosted you, they were not ready to work on that. So I'm going to move into the next few cards here. We have the Queen of Wands reversed, being clarified by the Knight of Swords reversed, which tells me that I think this person had somebody in their life, whether that was a past relationship, a past romantic relationship, a past friendship, or like a family relationship. It could have been something in the past, or it could have been something that this person it might have had in their life. Like this could have been like a parent figure or an authority figure in their life, who was very, very cruel, especially verbally. Somebody in their life who is very bossy, very egotistical, wanted all the attention on them, was willing to say very cruel and hurtful things to this Page of Wands, and make. I think that they installed a lot, created a lot of fear, anxiety, shame, for this Page of Wands, who is representing your person. That, I think they kind of caused your person to internalize the message that they were not lovable, and being who they, like, their authentic self was not worthy of love. Because this Queen of Wands reverse probably said that to them directly. Like the fact that a Queen of Wands reversed is somebody who is willing to put other people down, say really cruel and mean things, be very, very manipulative, as I said, like very bossy, wants to be in charge, wants to have all the power for themselves. And because it's being clarified by the Knight of Swords reversed, which is the Knight is a messenger, Swords is about communication. This is a reversed energy, and so this is just giving me the clarification that this Queen of Wands reverse was very verbally abusive to your person. And it could even have been the case where your person might have feared. I definitely think they had a real fear of intimacy and a real fear of vulnerability because of this Queen of Wands reversed. They could also have had the fear that you were going to turn out to be like this Queen of Wands reversed, and end up saying mean things to them and really breaking their heart. I think they really had just a mask on because they're so afraid that somebody is going to treat them the way that this Queen of Wands treated them. And I think they haven't done the emotional work to realize that they did not deserve that, and that it had nothing to do with them. Like this Queen of Wands reversed was doing it out of cruelty, not because the Page of Wands deserved it. I really think that this person just really had a lot of emotional work to do that they had not done at that time and were not ready to do at the time when they ghosted you. And I gotta say, I honestly really don't think this is anything that you did in this situation. So I just want to reiterate that. I don't think there was anything you could have done right at that time that would have convinced this person that it was okay to be vulnerable with you, because I think they have real trust issues, or they did at the time. And they were not, this was an opportunity for them to work through that stuff, and they were not ready. They just weren't ready to do that. And that has nothing to do with you. So again, I want to reiterate that message coming through very strongly. This was all about them and their fear. It had nothing to do with you or anything that you were doing wrong. So I just want to give that as a reassurance here, for what it's worth. And the next two cards are just kind of an additional confirmation of that for me. We have the Justice card being clarified by the Judgment in reverse. And, when the Judgment came out in reverse, I was like, oh, okay, this pretty clear message. This person's judgment was clouded. They were using bad judgment. And, with the other cards here, what I'm getting is that their judgment was being clouded by fear specifically, and possibly by the cruel words and verbal abuse that they had undergone previously, or maybe they were currently still undergoing, if this was a family member or somebody who was in their life at that time. And the Justice card is telling me this person probably thought a lot about, was really kind of in their head about what to do about your connection. I think, I don't know that this was an easy snap decision, or what's the word I want? An impulsive decision. Even though the Page of Wands is somebody who can be impulsive, I think that this was something they really weighed the pros and cons. The justice card has scales on it, like it's about like weighing the pros and cons of the situation. And unfortunately, I don't think that they were seeing the situation clearly to have been able to accurately weigh the pros and cons. So I think that they tried to figure out what to do in this situation. And unfortunately, at the time, their judgment was clouded. So they made a bad choice. They made a choice based on fear rather than on truth, or wisdom, or like having an honest communication with you, an honest conversation with you about their fear and about what, they just were not willing to kind of make themselves vulnerable like that. And I want to say also the judgment card in reverse does also talk about being in a very stubborn energy. And like along with the Four of Pentacles and the Eight of Swords can also carry that message, because it's about being stuck and kind of stagnant, like being paralyzed with fear. And so I think that again is like kind of reiterating for me that this person might have been stubbornly convinced that they were doing kind of the right thing here, and not kind of willing to listen to their internal judgment or their intuition. It's like instead of listening maybe to what their heart was telling them, they were listening to what their fear was telling them. And then we have the Moonology card. And I did ask, when I pulled this card, I did ask your spirit guides for advice for you in terms of this connection. And when it came out and I saw what it was, I was like, I don't know. I wasn't necessarily getting the impression that this advice was for you. It could be, this person ghosting you might have caused issues for you in terms of like fear of abandonment, or like needing closure that you weren't going to get, or it might have like hurt, like damaged your self-esteem and really hurt you. And so if that's the case, I want to reiterate the message I'm seeing in these cards. This was not about you. Unfortunately, this person was just not ready to deal with their fears. And I think it was like fear of intimacy and fear of vulnerability. It wasn't about like fear of commitment or fear of being in a relationship with you or anything that you did. This person wasn't dealing with any of that. They were just, there was stuff that they weren't willing to work on at that moment in time because of things that they were going through. It had nothing, like, again, like I've said that so many times this reading, I think it's really important. It had nothing to do with you. You were doing everything right. And I can understand how this would be really hurtful and confusing, especially if this person had been portraying themselves as a King of Cups. And again, the King of Cups is not somebody who ghosts you. They're just not. Like a real King of Cups, somebody who's really embracing that energy, they just wouldn't. They would let you know if it wasn't working out. That's why I'm saying I don't necessarily think this card, work through your fears here, is advice for you. I'm more getting the impression that this was about them. This is just additional clarification as to, I did say, I think it's a new moon in Scorpio. I think this was an opportunity, a new opportunity for this person to work through their fears. They had a lot of fears. I really think this was an opportunity for them to work through their fears that they didn't take. And I want to say we do have Scorpio, and Scorpio is a water sign. The King of Cups is associated with water. So this person could have significant Scorpio placements in their chart. They could be a water sign. They could also be a fire sign. They are being represented in your reading as the Page of Wands, which is associated with fire. Take that however it resonates. I also want to point out, though, that Scorpio is a fixed sign, and I was getting a lot of stubborn energy. So this person could very well have some prominent Scorpio placements. Again, just take that however it resonates. And I want to point out this card is like that kind of deep blue, deep indigo color that is associated with the third eye chakra. So this could be confirmation that on the Justice card, this person's spirit guides or their gut or their higher self or all three might have been trying to tell this person, this is okay, this is safe, it's an opportunity to work through your past issues. Like it's okay to open up to pile one. Like they're not like this Queen of Wands reversed. It's okay and safe now. And then on the other side of the scales, they had their judgment clouded, they had their Eight of Swords, they had their stubborn belief that they were not lovable, their authentic self is not worthy of love. And they, unfortunately, I think that side of the scales kind of outweighed their intuitive knowledge here. So and so just to kind of summarize everything that I'm seeing here again, not to be a broken record or anything, I just want to give a bit of a summary here. So I think your person ghosted you because they were afraid of rejection, they were afraid of vulnerability, they were afraid of intimacy, because they have someone in their life, perhaps a past relationship or a family member or a friend, somebody very toxic in their life who might have been in their past or might have been in their life at that time, who was very verbally abusive and really convinced your person that they were not good enough, not worthy of love, and not worthy of a relationship with somebody like you. And so they might have felt like they really needed to portray themselves as being something other than what they were. Might have been portraying themselves as somebody who's very romantic, somebody very reliable, coming with you, like telling you everything you wanted to hear, showing you everything they thought you wanted to see, instead of showing you their real self. And I think once they realized that your connection or situation or relationship was getting to the point where it was becoming too intense for them, and it might have been because, they didn't know how to move forward with the mask that they were wearing, or because they were starting to develop intense feelings, and their fear of vulnerability was being triggered by this connection. They tried to puzzle out what was the best course of action with this connection, and unfortunately their fear convinced them to walk away. And I think that they specifically ghosted you because they were afraid of what you were going to say if they had just told you the truth, or even just done the right thing and like, even just, as I said, like even just sending a text saying, I'm sorry, it's not working out. They were terrified of having that conversation or any conversation like that with you because they were afraid that you were going to be as cruel and verbally abusive as this other person in their life. And their self-esteem was so low at that point that they just would not have been able to handle that. And so they ghosted you. And that's what I'm seeing in these cards. I think that this was an opportunity for them to work through their fears that they didn't take. And honestly, I hope that this person is doing better. And I hope that you're doing okay, Pile 1. I hope that this reading was helpful for you today to give you some maybe context, some clarity, maybe some closure. And if you did like this video, please give it a like. Feel free to comment down below and let me know how it resonated for you. Thank you very much for watching, Pile 1, and I hope to see you in my next video. Hello, Pile 2, and welcome to your reading. Today I have asked Spirit why your person ghosted you. And I'm going to be honest, I am getting a bit of a confusing answer. It was definitely not as straightforward as Pile 1, and I don't know why, but for some reason I am having a little bit more trouble kind of tapping into the energy of Pile 2. I think it might be because they are just maybe a more guarded person, and it might just be, they might be a difficult person to read. I think that there's a chance that your person, even if they weren't at the time when you knew them, I'm getting like workaholic tendencies here. I'm getting the impression of somebody who really likes to be in control, and to the point where they might try to force things to happen that are not meant to happen a certain way. Like, I don't think this is somebody who has a lot of faith in things happening in divine timing. I think they want things to happen on their schedule. And that's honestly like the main energy I'm getting. And there's some aspect of this connection that I think was meant to happen. Like, I think that you came into contact with this person, whether it was a full-blown relationship or just a situation or like a momentary connection, whatever it was. I think that you came into contact with this person for a reason. I think that you were meant to come into contact with this person in order to, so that the two of you could kind of react to each other and maybe learn some important lessons. It's possible that this person is a real soulmate, that it just was kind of the right person, wrong time. It's possible that this is a karmic connection that you were meant to have and they were meant to have in order to trigger things in each other. It's possible that this is a wound mate, which is, to my understanding, is somebody who has kind of the same psychic scars that we do, and were like this, like similar past experiences, past trauma, that were meant to kind of come together. We've kind of are damaged in the same way, and it can be a way for us to kind of recognize things that we need to heal. And I am saying that because the first card we have here is the Magician. And when this card comes up in a relationship reading, especially if it comes out upright, it can be a confirmation from Spirit that this is a soulmate. Specifically because the Magician represents our ability to manifest things. And again, like, I want to stress, this card came out upright, so this could be just a confirmation from Spirit that, that this was a connection that was meant to happen. This was somebody that you might have signed a soul contract with, specifically so that you could react to each other. It could also be the case that this was somebody you were meant to have a deeper connection with, and they were not prepared to accept that that was what your connection was, if that makes sense. And I will say, I think that it's interesting that the Magician here is being clarified by the Fool in reverse, because these are the first two cards in the tarot deck. And when these cards came out like this, something that I heard in my head was a false start. And so it could have been that you might have recognized this as like a soul deep connection, and that they might also have recognized it as a soul deep connection, even if only on a subconscious level, and they might not have wanted to accept that, and that could have been something that was extremely painful for you, because the Fool's in reverse, and that's not necessarily the typical reading of the Fool card in reverse. However, that's kind of intuitively what I'm getting here, is that there was an opportunity for a new beginning, and it was blocked. It didn't happen. It might have been something that was manifested as something that was supposed to happen at a certain time, specifically with the two of you, and it just didn't. It was supposed to manifest, and it didn't. And I think it was probably because of this other person and their control issues, to be honest, to be bluntly honest. I think that your person has a need to control the outcome, possibly related to this idea I'm getting of somebody who needs to know that things are going to pay off or work out. And there was an energy I was getting when I saw the first four cards, of somebody trying to force something to happen, which again would kind of be in alignment with, a magician trying to manifest things. The Hanged Man in reverse, the Nine of Swords in reverse, the Four of Swords in reverse. Somebody's very much in their head, not really listening to their intuition, ignoring signs and symbols, not surrendering to the divine, not listening to the cues of their body, working themselves to the bone, not resting when they need to. Like, that's kind of the energy I'm getting from this person. And I think that this might have been like a soul connection for you. However, I don't think that this is a spiritual person. Like, they are naturally just not really connected to spirit, or they might be, and they might be like actively rejecting that, because I'm getting the impression that this is the type of person that doesn't want to believe in things like fate and destiny. They want to kind of create their own fate and destiny. They don't believe in divine timing. They want things to happen on their timeline, their schedule. And it kind of is going like against the grain of the universe, which is not a typical magician energy. So again, I think that the reason the magician card is here is specifically as a message that this was a connection that was meant to happen the way that it did. And the next two cards that we have here are the Hanged Man in reverse, being clarified by the Two of Swords in reverse. I want to say that the Hanged Man in reverse is kind of giving me the same vibes as the Fool in reverse. I did give my intuitive reading of why I think the Fool is in reverse here. However, there is an associated meaning when this card's in reverse about being afraid to take a step forward. And that's being kind of amplified by the Hanged Man in reverse, which can be talk about being in like a stagnant or a stuck energy, being afraid to move forward and kind of put one foot in front of the next because we're not sure what the outcome is going to be, or because we've kind of been in an energy for too long. Like there's a fear that's kind of holding this person back from moving forward, even when they are intuitively getting every green light. You know, they might be getting a ton of signs and symbols that it's time to move forward with something, or that this is the right thing. It's possible that your person was getting like a big yes from the universe, that this was, you know, a divine connection, and you know, and you are like someone they're connected to on a soul deep level, and they might have rejected that. They might not have wanted to believe that. They might have not wanted to move forward with you. And it could have been because, for whatever reason, they didn't see the relationship working out. It could have been because they were afraid for some reason. It could have been because they thought that the relationship was going to take too much work to get to the outcome that they wanted. For whatever reason, they were letting fear hold them back, and that's being, again, amplified for me by the fact that we have this card being clarified by the Two of Swords in reverse. The Two of Swords in reverse can talk about being so afraid of making a decision that we don't do anything, and that can include not communicating. It can be about, you know, the Two of Swords upright can talk about being confused about which way to go, what decision to make. You know, there's like two paths, but we're blindfolded. We just don't know where to go. And it can also carry a message about needing to, like, in a situation where logic can't tell you which way to go, there can be a message that in that situation, it's important to trust your intuition. However, this card is reversed, so that, you know, that message is being blocked, and it can talk about somebody letting fear and anxiety get them to a place where they're so afraid of making a decision or moving forward in some way that they're going to stay stuck and stagnant wherever they are, even when it comes to the point of causing real problems in their life, even when it causes people to walk away from them. Again, there's a specific message, because this is a swords card, about not communicating. So it could be it could be the case that this reading is about why this person ghosted you, which means that they did not communicate what was going on. They just ended the connection with no closure. So, you know, that kind of confirms for me that I think one of the reasons why they ghosted you is that they were afraid to take that step forward, and they felt very stuck and, I don't want to say paralyzed by fear. I think it's more like being in like an analysis paralysis, to the point where we just avoid the situation. Avoidance, that's the word. I think that was another word that was coming through. I got like control issues, trying to force something, not believing in divine timing, not having faith in the connection, and I'm getting also avoidance. And I think one of the things that this person was avoiding is that we have the Nine of Swords reversed being clarified by the Seven of Pentacles. I think that this person was, I'm sorry if you can hear my stomach bubbling. Unfortunately, when I'm channeling, I get very burpy, so I try to cut them out of the video, but you can hear my the burps coming, and I'm sorry about that. We have the Nine of Swords reversed, and that is a card that is taking the energy of the Nine of Swords, which is about like anxiety, depression, negative thoughts, downward thought spirals, sleepless nights. It takes that energy and it amplifies it like tenfold, like to the point where we can't sleep. We're just an exhausted zombie. Like it's causing real problems in our life. Just like being so in your head about something that you just can't escape that negativity, the dark thoughts. It can even get to the point of like a clinical depression or like debilitating anxiety. And all of those dark thoughts and that debilitation is related to this Seven of Pentacles. And this card specifically carries a message about not knowing whether something is going to pay off, and not, we're working on something. We're trying to, the person on the card has planted a tree, and they kind of have to take it on faith that the tree is growing healthy. They can only see the top part. They can't see the roots growing under the ground and the pentacle fruit growing under the ground there. They can only see the top part. And so it's like needing to have faith that the things we're working on are going to work out, even when there are things that we can't see going on behind the scenes. Like we can't control every aspect of it. And I think that is very upsetting for this person. Like again, I'm just getting the strong idea that this is somebody who really needs to be in control of the outcome of the all the aspects in their lives. And if they can't see what the outcome is going to be, what the payoff is going to be, if they can't see that fruit growing on the vine, they're really going to question whether they should put the effort and work in. Like I could see that, like this is somebody who probably got very much into their head about your connection, about what it meant, how is it going to work, like there might have been some barrier or some challenge here that this person was seeing that they didn't know how to get past. And that might have been why they were in that stagnant energy of not wanting to take that step forward, not wanting to choose a path or a direction, and I think they just sabotaged I think that's why they ghosted you. They just were like, I can't see this working out. I don't know what the outcome's going to be. This is out of my control. It feels out of control, possibly because it is a soul connection, possibly because it is the level of karmic connection where you're meant to trigger those feelings. This person might have felt dangerously out of control, which is, for them might not have been very out of control. I see this as somebody who just maybe a little bit stubborn and rigid, and I think that you coming into their life like really caused them to hit that panic button, like you real, and again, that's probably not something that you were doing intentionally. I think that it's just that they recognized you on a soul level, and it just like sent them into a spiral, and their reaction to that spiral was avoidance. And I think that's just kind of the crux of the reading today. But I will describe in the next two cards. So we have the Four of Swords in reverse. And as soon as this card came out, I was like, that makes sense. Because when I was shuffling your cards, I was getting like almost a wave of nausea, and my throat started to get very sore. And I could think of the throat soreness as being related to the throat chakra, which would make sense for a Two of Swords reverse, somebody not communicating, they have a blocked throat chakra, right? But I could also see this as being related to the Four of Swords reversed, which would kind of be the fact that it's being clarified by this Knight of Pentacles is telling me that I think this person is a workaholic. I think that in avoiding their Nine of Swords, like all these horrible anxiety about the outcome and the things that they can't control, I think that they have just thrown themselves into work. I think that that was what they did instead of communicating with you about how they were feeling or making any kind of decision about walking towards you, walking away from you. They just threw themselves into work and just avoided the whole situation completely. And I'm saying that the Four of Swords, the reason why I mentioned nausea, I realize I'm kind of jumping all over the place. The reason why I mentioned feeling nauseous and having a sore throat is that when the Four of Swords comes out reversed, it can talk about really needing to rest and refusing to rest to the point where our body breaks down. Like it's to the stubborn refusal to give up on something or to rest, again, to the point where like our body just gives out. And so there's a chance that this person has literally physically made themselves ill because of how hard they've been throwing themselves into their work. And I'm saying that because this, like, I'm saying work specifically because of this, the fact that this card's being clarified by the Knight of Pentacles. And the Knight of Pentacles is not a bad card, you know. The Knight of Pentacles is somebody who's working very consistently, methodically, step by step towards achieving a certain goal. Usually it is associated with work or a project. Or something we're very committed to because it is a Pentacles card. And so it could be that a common theme in this person's life is that they don't engage in self-care. They don't take care of themselves. They take care of their career. Like they take consistent, methodical care of their work. And that's the thing that is drawing me back to that idea of somebody who is maybe a bit of a control freak, to be honest, might have some control issues because there is that stable, consistent, methodical approach. And we have the Four of Swords in reverse. Somebody who's not taking the time out for self-care and who does that a lot. It's just somebody who's like not committed to listening to their soul, their intuition, their body, what they're just not giving themselves time to rest. So having said all that, I think if there was a kind of an overview of your cards here, again, I would say that I think this was definitely a divine connection, like a soul connection, something that was meant to happen. I think that it definitely triggered this person the way that it was meant to. I think that it scared them a lot. Like through no fault of your own. I think that they got very much in their head about it. They didn't know what the outcome was going to be, and that they don't like that. That really bothered them. And so instead of, you know, doing the mature thing and communicating with you about that, or just letting you know that something was going on, they got stuck in that energy. They were very stuck. On that one thought of, I don't know if this is going to work out. And instead of communicating with you or confronting that fear or working on that or engaging in any sort of self-care that might have helped them get through that feeling, they I think just threw themselves into their job, their career, a creative project, whatever that means for them. They threw themselves into something else and just avoided the situation entirely. So that's kind of the overview of what I'm seeing here. And then we have the Moonology card, which I did ask for just like an additional reason why this person ghosted you. This could also double as advice for you here. So I'm going to kind of go with both. And I mean, honestly, the message surrender to the divine with the full moon makes sense in context to this reading. I think that was something that this person was not prepared to do. Because their hanged man was in reverse. You know, when the hanged man is upright, it can talk about, like, okay, I'm going to surrender to divine timing. I'm going to accept that things are going to happen the way that they're going to happen. And, you know, certain things are meant to happen the way that they're meant to happen. And this person was not willing to do that at all. So that would make sense to me why this card is here. And if this is intended as Spirit's advice for you regarding to this connection, I think that this, is just an additional confirmation with the Magician card here that, again, this was a divine connection. It was meant to happen. You were meant to come into contact with this person. You were meant to react to each other. Again, this could be a soul contract, could be a wound mate, could be something that they might have really triggered something in you that was an opportunity for you to work on something in yourself. Whatever it is, I think that this is just additional confirmation that this was something that was meant to happen, but it might not have been something that was meant to work out in the long run. And I think if we're saying surrender to the divine, I think that's maybe an additional piece of advice from Spirit that it might be time to, first of all, it's an opportunity to examine your feelings about the situation. It's important to process that stuff, process our feelings. What has it brought up for you? What can you work on? Has it brought up, self-esteem issues, certain fears you might have had? Maybe you had very similar experiences to this person, and you might also be somebody who very much struggles with anxiety, and that message might really resonate for you, in which case it would be an opportunity to kind of work on figuring out ways to manage that. It might be a message to try to connect to Spirit. Maybe meditation might be helpful, trying to connect with your spirit guides. And there's a message here that it's important to trust in divine timing, because things happen when they're meant to happen, the way that they're meant to happen, even when those things are very painful and upsetting. It's always an opportunity to learn and grow from that situation, so that the next time something comes up, we'll have more tools and more resources in order to handle that situation. So I hope that's been helpful, Pile 2. I will say this was a more difficult reading. It was really hard to get a read on your person. I tried my best, so hopefully that resonated for you. If it did, please give my video a like. That really helps me out. And please comment down below and let me know whether or not it did resonate for you. And with that said, thank you very much for watching Pile 2, and I hope to see you in my next video. Hello, Pile 3, and welcome to your reading. Today I have asked Spirit why your person ghosted you. I want to apologize if my cat starts yelling. He wants to come into the study and he's not allowed, so I apologize for that. And I want to say right off the bat, I'm getting the sense that this person might have ghosted you because I think that they have an unhealthy perception of what relationships are supposed to be like. I think that their parents or significant people in their life might have had a very toxic, negative, combative relationship, and that might have been what was modeled to this person growing up. And that's not meant to excuse their behavior. There's a possibility that this person doesn't know what a healthy relationship looks like, or doesn't know how to have a healthy relationship. It could be that they think that they are behaving in a way that is totally normal because that's what's been modeled to them, but that doesn't make it okay. I want to be very clear about that. It doesn't make ghosting people okay. I think there's also a chance that this person equally wants and fears a traditional committed relationship. And I think that they don't know how to get there because they'd never really learned those behavior, how to act like somebody, who would be attracting somebody that they could have a committed relationship with. I think that they have very kind of outdated ideas of what it means to be part of a traditional relationship. I think that if they are a masculine, I think that they might engage in a lot of toxic masculinity. If they are a feminine, it might be toxic femininity. However they identify in their gender, I think that they might have outdated ideas about gender roles in relationships. And I think that there's also a message here that I think that they genuinely regret ghosting you. I think that this might just be part of a pattern of behavior that they didn't know how to break out of. And so they didn't. And I think there's a confirmation here that they might have recognized that there was something more to your connection. This might have been like a soul level connection. This might have been a divinely guided connection where the two of you were meant to come together in order to react to each other. It might have been like an intentional karmic connection so that the two of you could come together, react to each other, and learn things from the connection. And if that's the case here, then I think there's a message here that this person has learned from what happened between the two of you. I do think that they feel regret about having ghosted you. However, that doesn't mean that that they're going to learn the lesson from that. Because they have free will, they can do whatever they want, and unfortunately it seems to me like they have some deeply ingrained beliefs here that they really need to re-examine. So that's kind of what I'm getting right off the bat. There are a couple of interesting things here that I kind of want to mention right off the bat before I forget. So what is interesting is we have in your spread, I only pulled 8 cards, and we have 3 Wands Court cards and 5 Major Arcana. So definitely that's kind of confirming for me that even if this was just a karmic connection, it was like meant to happen. Like you were meant to react to each other because there's a lot of like really strong energies here. And when I was pulling out the clarifiers for these cards, and I was pulling out the Major Arcana on the bottom row, I kept hearing in my head, they're out of order. They're out of order. And so I think that might be an indication that either this person might have some OCD tendencies, or they like things to be in a certain order. It might be an indication that they just have a kind of a rigid belief system that they are not really examining. It could be an indication that this person, as I said, might genuinely want like a traditional committed relationship with somebody, perhaps you. And I just think that they kind of see themselves doing things out of order. Like they might have an idea of the way things are supposed to happen, and there's a possibility that that your connection with them might have kind of thrown off their expectations, and that might have caused them to panic. So only take that if it resonates. So what's interesting here with these first cards we have here is I pulled the top row first, and then I pulled the bottom row as clarifiers. So when I pulled the top row, the first 2 cards that came out were the Father of Wands upright, and then the Son of Wands in reverse. And I was like, that's interesting, because in this deck, the King is the Father, and the Knight is the Son, but it says Father and Son, right? And then I pulled the Mother of Wands reversed as the clarifier for the Father of Wands, right? And the Mother of Wands being the Queen. And so the way that I would intuitively read these 3 cards being here like this, especially because we have the Hierophant clarifying the Son of Wands in reverse, again, is, as I said, I think this represents, I think your person, the person that ghosted you, is being represented by the Son of Wands reversed, this Knight of Wands reversed. And I think that the King of Wands, Father of Wands, being clarified by the Queen of Wands in reverse, the Mother of Wands, I think this represents that Son of Wands looking towards the Father and Mother, and the Father and Mother are at odds with each other. And an imbalanced Wands energy is chaotic, argumentative, disruptive, egotistical, bossy, verbally abusive, manipulative. And that might have been like how this person's parents, or or like a significant relationship when they were growing up that was modeled to them, that might have been what they grew up with, was it being in a very toxic environment where that was the main relationship that was modeled to them. They might have grown up thinking that that is what marriage is, or that is what a committed relationship is supposed to be, or that's what it looks like. That might be like deeply ingrained in their belief system. And it could be because we have a father upright clarified by a mother reversed. It could have been the father being seen as like the head of the household. There could have been a lot of toxic masculinity. There could have been a lot of very outdated gender roles that might have, again, because these are at odds, I'm seeing it as being in a very negative way. There's nothing necessarily inherently wrong with traditional gender roles if everybody is comfortable with that, everybody's having their needs met and their voices are heard, whatever you want to do in your relationship, whatever, right? But in this specific instance, it was not healthy. And so it could have been that, that might have been, their father was like the man of the household, and expected to be obeyed. They're standing up tall on that card. And then the mother might have been like huddled up around the eggs there, just trying to protect the children. So again, like I'm being called to read that intuitively, that I really think that this person who ghosted you had a very skewed idea of what a relationship is supposed to be like, because their own parents' relationship was very messed up, very unhealthy, very toxic, possibly abusive, possibly physically abusive. And I think they just kind of internalized a lot of that. And so that, I think that's why if the Son of Wands reverse representing their energy at the time when they ghosted you, that's an imbalanced energy. It's reversed. And the Son of Wands reverse is somebody who, is chaotic, is impulsive, does things on a whim, is only looking to have fun and a good time, not looking for commitment. They will, I'm hearing, hit it and quit it, which is not something I have ever said out loud before. So, but that's that's their energy. That's how they typically approach connections. It's like, I'm here for a good time, not a long time, and it's not necessarily a healthy energy to be in. It's like very chaotic. And it's being clarified by the Hierophant card here. And the Hierophant represents institutions and traditions. And that can include the institution of marriage. And it can include family traditions. And if this is clarifying why this Son of Wands card is in reverse, is in that imbalanced energy, because I'm getting the message, it's because that's what the tradition was. It could have been that, maybe one of their parents slept around or had a lot of affairs, or was very open, or even might have boasted about that. There might have been a lot of like cheating in the parents' relationship. And I'm being drawn to the fact that there's kind of like a lightning bolt behind the Raven on this card, and then there's a lightning bolt behind the Father of Wands. So I think that there might be like the connection there is the reason why this person was behaving that way and approaching relationships that way is directly related to like the masculine or the father figure, or somebody in this relationship that had been modeled to them growing up. Like that, I think I'm hearing that's the way a man is supposed to act. That's what I'm hearing. So again, like regardless of gender, like I think that is what they had been taught, maybe like inadvertently or maybe explicitly. And again, that does not excuse this person's behavior. It's just giving some context. We asked why. This is part of the why this person was behaving this way. And I have to say, when I was pulling the Wands cards, when I was asking, why did pile 3's person ghost pile 3? The answer I heard was because they're a snake. That's what, and these cards are snakes. Snakes, again, they're not inherently negative, but I did get that message as I was shuffling the cards. And so this person was being a snake, like regardless of whether or not they had a lot of like really traumatic, toxic things modeled to them growing up, it's still not okay. So this is not meant to excuse this person's behavior. And then we have the Hermit in reverse being clarified by the Emperor. And I want to say, like, I do try to keep my readings gender neutral because I know lots of different people watch these readings, and so I want to be inclusive. However, I'm getting, like, a lot of these cards are kind of telling me, I think for the majority of you, the person who ghosted you was a masculine, and they were in, like, I think they just have a lot of toxic masculine beliefs. Like, I just think that, again, they just have like a very rigid idea about gender. Like, I'm just getting that message over and over. Like, this is how a man is supposed to act. This is what a man is supposed to do. So, getting that message a lot. I want to relay that. However, again, I do want to say, like, whatever the genders here, however they apply to you, this person was still acting like a snake, and the way that I'm being called to read the Hermit card in reverse, being specifically because it's being clarified by the Emperor, is that I think that this person has huge walls up around their heart. I think that they're very afraid of vulnerability. And I think that it's to the point where I don't think they really know how to make themselves vulnerable. I think that this is something that they are so disconnected from their own emotions, and from even knowing how to, like, have a healthy conversation about their feelings. I think that they've intentionally built a very strong, like a big wall around them, like this turtle shell. They've intentionally created a huge shell around the parts of themselves that are soft and weak and vulnerable, and all of those. Like, I think that really scares them. And so they keep all that stuff locked up inside. And it's like, it's again, like, I'm hearing things like boys don't cry. Like, it's all of that those toxic things that it hurts everybody. It hurts men, it hurts women, it hurts everybody, if any gender. It hurts trans people. Like, it's just bad for everybody. But I really think that's kind of the way this person's been taught. They really needed to have that shell around them because that's part of how they grew up. It wasn't safe to be vulnerable when they were growing up. And so they don't know how to take that shell off. They don't know how to come out of that shell. They just don't know. Like, that's a message I'm getting. It's not about not wanting to. It's that they don't even know how. They're so disconnected from that part of themselves. And honestly, like, again, this is not meant to excuse this person's behavior, but I could understand why they'd be in that energy. And I feel sad that this has been like a coping mechanism that they have felt the need to develop. It's just sad, and it makes me sad. So anyway, so the reason why I'm saying that is that the Hermit card, when it's reversed, it can talk about being too isolated, or being isolated for too long. And you're usually being encouraged to go out and, like, try to genuinely connect with other people. However, like, this is a message about being overly isolated, and then it's being clarified by the Emperor, which represents divine masculine, like the masculinity in the divine masculine. And even upright, this card can talk about things like the aspects of the Emperor that are not necessarily negative, but it has to do with things like being assertive, being in control, having and setting usually healthy boundaries. However, I'm hearing, these boundaries are like nobody's getting through them. These walls are way too high. But I think, it's a way for this person to kind of control and manage their environment. Because, again, I don't think it was safe for this person growing up to even admit that they had feelings, let alone figure out what those feelings were or what they meant. That's what I'm seeing with these two cards here. And then the reason why I was giving the interpretation that I think that this person regrets ghosting you is because we have the Lovers in reverse. And this card, when it comes out reversed, it does carry a message about regret and feelings of loss and having lost something that you really loved and wanted. And it's possible that this person might not have recognized or been able to admit to themselves at the time that that they did feel connected to you, and that the connection did mean something to them. Because again, I just feel like they're so detached from their emotional self that like all of that stuff is very scary for them. And I just think that they just shut it down. Like I think they got scared, and they got scared and they like reverted back to their the word that's coming to my mind is training, but it's like you revert back to an old behavioral pattern because you're met with an unfamiliar situation that you don't know how to handle and it's too scary. So it's like you just kind of go back to your default setting, which for this person is, having fun and then leaving, like essentially running away. The reason why I mentioned that, I was kind of going on about the fact that this might have been a divine connection in some way is because this Lovers in reverse card's being clarified by the Magician, and specifically in relationship readings, when the Magician card comes out, it can talk about a soulmate, a connection that has been manifested. So the fact that it's clarifying this Lovers in reverse could be saying your person regrets having ghosted you because part of them knew that your connection was more important than their usual connections. There was something about the two of you that was important on like a soul level. And I think that they only were willing or able to admit that to themselves after the fact. And I honestly don't know if they're going to do anything about it. I mean, I think it's likely that they won't, just because their beliefs are so deeply ingrained and their behaviors are so deeply ingrained. However, anybody can change. People can change. People can and do change. So I don't want to say one way or the other whether this person is going to grow out of this phase and learn how to connect with their emotional side, learn how to communicate effectively, start deprogramming from all of these gender roles and these outdated beliefs that they have, and all the toxic behaviors they're engaging in. Maybe this person might benefit from speaking to a therapist. So again, I can't speak for this person. I don't know what they're prepared to do, but I also want to say I was getting the impression this person right now might be fear driven, or at the time when they ghosted you, they might have been fear driven. However, I'm just getting the sense from the Hierophant card being here upright and the fact that we have the Lovers reversed in the Magician, I'm getting the sense this person does want, really does want, I feel like they're lonely, alone in their little turtle shell. They really do want to have a genuine connection and a real commitment. I'm getting that message. They're equally afraid of it, and they want it with that same they want it just as much as they're afraid of it, is what I'm hearing. And I want to kind of reiterate the message. I think this person really regretted it because they realized that there was something real here. There was something more here. There was real potential here. It could have been because you guys are soulmates. It could have been because you signed a soul contract. It could have been because this was just a karmic connection, but it might have been meant to create those feelings in this person so that they could examine their behaviors and their beliefs, and start to heal that stuff and start to come out of their shell a little bit and make themselves a little bit more vulnerable and learn some important communication skills. However, again, I can't say one way or another whether this person's going to do that. I will say this wasn't anything that you did wrong in this connection. If anything, I think that if this was something where they had time to develop feelings, they did. And I think that that was kind of the catalyst for why they would have run away in this situation, if that's what happened between you. Like, again, we have the Lover's reverse. Like, this person is feeling a loss of something, and after the fact. So nothing in these cards today is telling me that this was anything that you did wrong or anything related to you at all. Like, I'm just getting this person has family of origin issues, and like really complicated feelings when it comes to commitment, marriage, tradition. Again, things like gender roles and vulnerability, like fear of intimacy. This person, I'm saying he because it's the Son of Wands, but regardless of gender, this person didn't even know how to begin articulating what they were thinking or feeling, let alone start working on that stuff. So I am going to move on to the Moonology card here. And this card is kind of like twofold. It's some additional context about the connection, and then there might also be some advice for you here. I do think that the card that came out is a little bit ironic considering the topic of this reading. And the card we have is New Moon in Gemini, which says communication is key. And so because it's a new moon, I think that this might be representing this connection was an opportunity for your person to learn a lesson about communication. Like, this might have been like the start of something where this person, if they had been willing and able to do that at that time, if they could have talked to you about how they felt. And it seems to me that they didn't. They ghosted you instead. They didn't bother to communicate. And a part of the Lover's reverse magician might have been what they needed to learn here. Because I think that regret kind of hitting them in the heart, where they don't usually feel things, might have opened them up to the idea that they need to start learning how to communicate effectively. This person might also have a blocked throat chakra. We do have the word communication, and this card is blue, which is associated with the throat chakra. That would make a lot of sense to me. It doesn't seem like they're very good at communicating, especially not having like a genuine conversation about feelings. That's not something that comes easily to this person. I think that's something that they really need to work on. And again, this might have been an opportunity for them to learn some lessons related to communication. This could also be, if this is advice intended for you in regard to this connection that you had with this person in regards to this situation, I think the lesson, because it's a new moon, the lesson might just be that even if this person, you never see them again and you never have contact with them again, it might be saying that this is something for you to take into any new relationship you have, is to just put an emphasis on healthy communication. I'm sure most of you already know like how important communication is to a relationship. This could just be a reminder of that importance, and to maybe work on some throat chakra stuff if that is helpful for you. It could also be the intuitive thing that I was hearing when I first pulled the card is, if this is advice intended for you, it could be because this person does regret what they did. It could be that they might come back towards you, and in that case, if that does happen, then it's going to be up to you to make sure that at the very least that you are communicating in a genuine, honest way with this person. And I'm just getting the message like, this person has a lot of work to do. Like, they have a lot of healing to do here. And it could be that they are coming forward because they genuinely want to try to do that. Or they could just be coming forward and they could still be in an imbalanced energy, and they could, so I think it's just like, kind of use your judgment. it's okay to communicate with this person, but just make sure that you're doing what you need to do in this situation to take care of yourself, and that it's okay. It's okay to decide that you don't want to communicate with them and walk away. Just do whatever is right for you in that situation, if that happens. There's no guarantee either way here, but either way, I hope that has been helpful for you, pile 3. I hope that my cat was not too annoying. He's a cutie, and I'll go play with him after this reading. But I hope that this has kind of like answered that question for you, and I hope that this might have given you a little bit of closure about what happened here. And if you did like the video, feel free to give it a like. That really helps me out. Feel free to comment down below and let me know how this resonated for you. That also helps me out. And with that said, thank you very much for watching today, pile 3, and I hope to see you in my next video.